Good afternoon to you. This is Talk, the Home of Common Sense. For me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. 12:51 is the time. Benedict Spence still with me. Delighted to be joined right now also by Dr. Alan Mendoza. He's Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to you, sorry.
Hello, Julia.
Thanks,
how are you?
I want to talk to you about a number of different things. First up, let's talk about Kemi Badenoch and the election of her to the leadership of the Tory party, but in particular the reaction from the Labour Party. Obsessed very quickly with the fact that she should be congratulated because as a black woman she's got this role. Keir Starmer put out a tweet saying that, you know, this was a source of pride for the nation. Kemi Badenoch making it very clear that, well, you know, it's as irrelevant as hair colour and eye colour. Why do you think this is such an important issue to the Labour Party?
Well, I think it's probably twofold. Number one, Labour very much enjoys celebrating diversity. And of course, there's nothing wrong with celebrating diversity, but what's particularly interested in is that the person who's being celebrated doesn't want to be celebrated for diversity. So it's almost like enforced diversity. You shall celebrate your diversity when you just want to get on with life as an ordinary person. So I think there's that symptom, isn't there? Labour always want to encourage differences, whereas I think Kemi Badenoch is saying, don't judge me on, you know, on this, judge me on my record, judge me on what I'm going to do rather than, you know, what I might be. Yeah. And I think the second point is that there is, of course, there's a glaring problem, isn't there? And the Conservatives keep on electing women leaders, number one. They've now got a black leader. They had an Asian leader. Yeah. They had a Jewish leader many years ago. And Labour have only ever been led by white men. So I suppose it's almost like it's our attempt on the Labour side to go, we are going to, sort of celebrate this in some way, but don't think we're going to have a leader like this anytime soon. So I think it's quite interesting that the two factors probably come in there.
But if they did, it would be because it would be like the Kamala Harris option, where chosen for ticking black woman. I mean, Joe Biden was blatant. I'm going to choose a VP who's a black woman. That was his entire shortlist. And it is absolutely fascinating, whereas, of course, totally irrelevant, it would appear, in the Conservative Party. What did you make of the Labour MP, still amazingly a Labour MP, Dawn Butler, retweeting a post which referred to Kemi Badenoch as representing white supremacy in blackface? I mean, when you retweet, if she retweeted saying this is outrageous, that would be different. But she retweeted this tweet, basically saying it was by a guy called Nels Abbey, warning 7 rules for surviving a Kemi Badenoch victory. She hasn't lost the whip. Do you think if any member of any other political party, or say, I don't know, a white person, or an MP had written the same thing, that their career would not be over?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I think it's extraordinary that no action's been taken. This is blatant racism. It doesn't matter the fact of of who's done it. It's an obvious point, and whatever commentators think outside is one thing. But for a senior member of Parliament, Dawn Butler is a senior member of Parliament.
Amazingly.
Well, yes, amazingly, but she is. For her to have put this out and there have been no action is a terrible indictment of the Labour Party's views on the subject. Surely they don't all agree that this is correct. If they don't agree it's correct and it's clearly egregiously offensive, some action should be taken. But why is nothing being done? I'm as mystified as you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm largely not in favour of people having action taken against them because of things they write rather than things they do. But again, the rules need to be the same for everyone, don't they? Because I certainly know anyone on the right who wrote something similar, their career, their place in polite society would be over. But let's talk about more important actions, and the particular actions that we've been seeing, not just on our streets every 2 weeks in London since October 7th and that horrific massacre by Hamas of people in Israel, but the extraordinary violence we've seen over the last few days by supposedly, we're told, pro-Palestinian vandals. I think we should call them what they are, anti-Semites, smashing, for instance, a cabinet to steal sculptures of Israel's first president, defacing university buildings, all on the anniversary of the Balfour Declaration. We've seen Jewish businesses being damaged, glass, windows being broken. We've also seen the daubing of this upside-down red triangle, which is very clearly, I'm sure you can explain the history, an anti-Semitic image. Do you think that the police are taking, the authorities, the government are taking the threats to the Jewish people, the Jewish members of our society seriously enough?
Look, firstly, let's just start with the obvious. These are disgraceful scenes on Britain's streets. I mean, I don't think we could imagine these have taken place even 5 years ago.
No.
And yet now, in a sense, although it's horrific, are we entirely surprised? We've had a year of absolute hatred out on the streets. We've had a year when hatred hasn't been prosecuted, when people have said hideous things, vile things, gone well beyond the pale of what would be acceptable for dealing with any other country on the Israel side, gone into blatant anti-Semitism, and yet nothing seems to be done. So are we surprised, Julia, that this is the outcome? It's terribly sad. But the real issue, as you've just pointed out, is people appear to be doing this, committing these crimes with impunity. They're boasting about it out there. Now, we know enough about them to be able to track them down. Why aren't the police going out, making sure this organisation is totally shut down, that's been responsible?
Yep.
It's not the first time it's done this either.
Yeah, we could fast-track them through the justice system, apparently. That's what we do now with people we disapprove of.
Well, we could do, and why aren't we? But here's the point, that these people are not hiding who they are. They're not hiding what they're doing. They're quite open about it. They're quite open about the hatred they wish to bring to our streets. And surely, now that they've committed crime after crime after crime, there should be a priority to restore some measure of social cohesion. And again, we have to question, why on earth isn't this happening? What possible reason could there be not to move against these people? Because they're only going to get more extreme, aren't they? If you don't do something now, they will continue. Yep. And that's the problem.
Yeah, I do think you should remember, though, it is, of course, Islamophobia Awareness Month this month. So maybe that's why.
Well, I'm not sure these are Muslims who are committing these crimes. Let's think about this as well. That this is probably middle class, left wing, sort of white non-Muslims who are doing this. So one shouldn't jump to who actually has done it in that sense.
No, I'm just saying they would be considered Islamophobic to argue against anything in terms of pro-Palestinian violence.
That's why the Islamophobia definition is a lot of nonsense. That's the whole point, isn't it? I mean, we all want to see an end to anti-Muslim hatred.
Absolutely.
But anyone who wants to drag in political and religious causes to be part of that's a big problem in itself.
Yeah, indeed. Always good to talk to you, Dr. Alan Mendoza, Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society there. Benedict, interesting, contrasting the things that are said on Twitter or X and things, actual actions. We know, I mean, Jewish people in this country are frankly terrified. People are talking about leaving the country, getting Israeli passports because they are so scared. They'll go to Israel to feel safer than they feel here in this country. That is very telling.
It's unacceptable in a post-Holocaust European country for it to be the case where Jews don't feel safe, especially in this one, which was one of the few that wasn't tainted by that in particular. I mean, the whole nonsense about it, Alan Mendoza is completely right, and Christopher Hitchens spoke about this years ago. Don't allow them to impose this idea of Islamophobia on you, because it will simply stop you criticising legitimately what they're doing.